focus your mind. Where focus goes, energy flows. This simple truth has the power to change the entire direction of your life. Imagine waking up every day with your energy scattered, some of it going to social media, some to worrying about things you can't control, some to comparing yourself to others, and just a fraction going to what truly matters. That's how most people live, not because they lack potential, but because they lack focus. Your mind is not meant to be everywhere. It is meant to be sharp like a laser, not scattered like a flashlight. When you begin to focus your attention on something deeply, whether it's your growth, your relationships, your purpose, you begin to notice that progress accelerates. That's not magic, that's focus. The reason focus is so powerful is because your energy, your mental, emotional, and physical strength follows it. Think of your mind as the steering wheel and your energy as the car. Wherever the mind turns, your energy moves in that direction. That's why people who constantly think negative thoughts often feel drained. They aren't out of energy, they're just misdirecting it. Now, take the same person, guide their focus toward gratitude, purpose, or personal growth, and you'll see a surge of energy that wasn't there before. It's not about having more time or more motivation, it's about having better focus. We often underestimate how much control we actually have over our lives simply because we've never learned to control our attention. In a world designed to distract you, regaining that control is an act of power. Every time you choose to focus, you take back a little bit of your strength. You reclaim the power you gave away to meaningless things. The more you focus, the more energy you feel, and the more energy you have, the more aligned your actions become with your vision. Focus is the silent driver behind all growth. It's not loud or dramatic. It doesn't demand attention. It works in the background, quietly sharpening your vision, your thinking, and your direction. And slowly, what once felt impossible becomes natural. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt like a dream starts to feel like a plan. Because when you start mastering your focus, your life begins to change not by chance, but by choice. Clarity begins with silence. Most of us are running through life with noise constantly surrounding us, notifications, opinions, expectations, endless input that never seems to stop. In that chaos, we try to make big decisions, define our goals, and understand who we truly are. But clarity doesn't grow in noise, it grows in silence. When was the last time you sat with yourself in absolute stillness and simply listened? Not to music, not to people, not to the world, but to your own inner voice. That quiet place inside of you that's often drowned out by the volume of everything outside. That's where clarity lives, but to hear it, you have to be willing to turn down the external world and turn inward. The mind, when overstimulated, becomes foggy. Think of it like a glass of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, it stays cloudy. But if you let it sit still, the dirt settles and the water becomes clear. That's what silence does to your mind. It settles the noise so you can finally see what's really going on beneath the surface. Most people are scared of silence, not because it's empty, but because it's honest. In silence, you face truths you've been avoiding about your habits, your choices, your feelings. But those truths are the very things that will guide you to the life you're meant to live. Clarity isn't something you find outside. It's something you uncover inside when everything else is stripped away. In silence, you remember who you are without the labels. You realize what matters to you without anyone else's opinion attached. You stop chasing what everyone else is chasing and begin aligning with what actually fulfills you. That's the gift of stillness. It reveals, it sharpens, it aligns. When the mind is quiet, the heart can speak. And when the heart speaks, you gain clarity not just about what to do next, but about why it matters. Silence is not a waste of time. It's the foundation for wise action. In a loud world, those who learn to be quiet have the greatest clarity, the deepest strength, and the sharpest direction. Because the real answers never scream, they whisper, and you'll only hear them when you learn to be still. Distractions are expensive, not in money but in moments. Every time your mind drifts from what truly matters, you're not just losing time, you're losing presence, purpose, and potential. Most people don't realize how much their distractions are costing them until it's too late. A few minutes lost to scrolling turns into hours. A day wasted on what doesn't matter becomes a week, then a month, then a year. And slowly, without noticing, your life drifts off course. It doesn't crash in an instant, it erodes, one distraction at a time. The world is built to steal your attention. Every app, every platform, every piece of media is engineered to pull your focus in 100 directions. And when you give into those distractions, you're paying with the most valuable currency you have: your energy, your time, your life. Focus is expensive, which is why everyone wants it. The ones who win are not always the smartest or the most talented. They are the ones who can protect their attention, because attention shapes action, and repeated action shapes reality. If your attention is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your attention is intentional, your life will be intentional. Choices, quick fixes, temporary pleasures that feel good now but take you nowhere later. You tell yourself it's just for a little while. You say you'll get back to work tomorrow. But distraction is a habit, and every time you give in, you're strengthening that pattern. The mind begins to crave it, and before you know it, your ability to sit still, focus deeply, and think clearly becomes weaker. You find it harder to start things, harder to finish, harder to stay committed. That's the price of distraction, not just missed opportunities, but a weakened version of yourself. But you weren't made to live distracted. You are made to live with depth, with clarity, with purpose. And the only way to build that life is to protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. You have dreams waiting to be built, ideas waiting to be born, gifts waiting to be shared. But none of them will grow if you keep watering your distractions instead of your intentions. Your attention is your superpower. In a world that's constantly trying to pull you in a million directions, the ability to control where your mind goes is not just a skill, it's your greatest form of strength. Everything you create, everything you become, begins with what you choose to pay attention to. Attention is how you feed your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately your actions. What you focus on grows. So if you're constantly focused on fear, comparison, or doubt, don't be surprised when that's what dominates your life. But shift your attention to growth, gratitude, and progress, and you begin to reshape your entire reality from the inside out. Most people give away their attention freely. They check their phones before they even check in with themselves. They allow the world to tell them what to think, what to feel, what to care about. But if you don't learn to guard your attention, someone else will direct your life. Advertisers, influencers, algorithms, they all fight for your focus because they know how powerful it is. Why do you think companies spend billions to capture it? Because attention is the gateway to your decisions, and your decisions determine your destiny. When you begin to treat your attention like a sacred resource, everything changes. You stop allowing toxic conversations to take space in your mind. You stop spending your energy on things that don't align with your values. You begin to live on purpose, not just out of habit. You choose what you give your energy to, and in doing so, you take your power back. That's what attention is. It's power, not loud, aggressive power, but focused, deliberate, unstoppable power. And here's the truth. You don't need to control everything in your life. You just need to control your attention. Because when your attention is aligned with your vision, the right habits form, the right actions follow, and the right outcomes begin to show up. But when your attention is scattered, even the most beautiful goals can lose their meaning. You have to remember that you get to decide what takes up space in your mind. You get to choose what deserves your energy, and the more intentional you become with your attention, the more powerful you become in your own life. Train your mind like a muscle. Just like your body becomes stronger through consistent effort, discipline, and challenge, your mind becomes sharper, clearer, and more resilient through intentional training. But most people don't treat their mind that way. They expect it to perform under pressure, to stay calm in chaos, to focus in a world full of noise without ever practicing the habits that build mental strength. If you want your mind to serve you in moments that matter, you have to put in the reps long before those moments arrive. You have to build focus before distraction shows up. You have to build patience before the pressure hits. You have to build stillness before the storm comes. Training your mind starts with what you consume. Every piece of content, every conversation, every environment you choose is shaping your mental space. You wouldn't eat junk food every day and expect your body to feel energized. So why feed your mind negativity, drama, and comparison and expect to feel peace, clarity, or confidence? What you put into your mind is what you get out of your life. Training your mind means choosing what strengthens you, not what drains you. It means starting your day with intention, not impulse. It means learning to sit with discomfort, not avoid it. Because discomfort is the gym for the mind. The more you face it, the stronger you get, and just like building muscle, you don't see results overnight. There are days where it feels slow, days where focus slips, days where you fall into old patterns. But consistency is what transforms practice into power. The people who appear calm under pressure, present in chaos, and grounded in uncertainty, they weren't born that way. They trained. They built the habits you don't see so they could show up strong in the moments that matter. They made the invisible work a priority. Your mind is the foundation of everything you do. Every goal, every relationship, every challenge starts in your thoughts. And if you want to lead your life instead of being led by it, you have to build a mind that's prepared. A mind that knows how to focus, how to reset, how to reflect, how to keep going even when it's hard. That strength doesn't come from wishing, it comes from working, from daily practices that feel small but build something unshakable over time. When the mind is focused, the soul speaks. In the noise of daily life, in the rush of doing, achieving, and constantly moving, we often silence the deepest part of ourselves, not intentionally, but simply because we're too distracted to listen. Your soul, your intuition, that inner compass that knows what truly matters, it's always trying to guide you, but it doesn't shout, it whispers, and you can only hear it when your mind is still enough to listen. Focus isn't just about getting more done. It's about creating space to connect with what's real, what's meaningful, what's true. Most people live disconnected from themselves. They move from task to task, chasing goals that don't fulfill them, following routines that numb them, and saying yes to things that drain them. They're so used to reacting that they forget to reflect. But when you create focus not just on your work, but within your mind, you give yourself the chance to reconnect. The noise begins to fade, the outside world softens, and in that quiet space, your soul can finally be heard. It reminds you of who you are beneath the pressure. It brings back the dreams you buried under deadlines. It reveals what truly matters, not what impresses others, but what fulfills you. Focus allows your values to rise to the surface. It helps you recognize when you're acting out of fear instead of faith, when you're pleasing instead of being, when you're performing instead of living. When your mind is scattered, your soul gets lost in the background. But when your mind is clear, your inner wisdom becomes louder, and it doesn't speak in confusion or urgency. It speaks in peace, in clarity, in conviction. The soul doesn't need to be convinced, it already knows. But it needs your attention to be heard. That's why moments of reflection are not a luxury, they are essential. Meditation, journaling, solitude, these aren't just quiet habits. They are tools that tune your mind to the frequency of your soul. And in that alignment, you begin to live with a different kind of power. Not the power that comes from control, but the power that comes from connection. Because when you live from the soul, your actions carry meaning, your choices hold depth, and your path becomes something more than just successful, it becomes sacred. Focus your mind. Because in a world that is constantly demanding your attention, the ability to direct your thoughts, your energy, your awareness, that is your true freedom. Every day, you wake up with two options. Either you control your mind, or your mind controls you. And most people, without even realizing it, are being pulled in every direction by everything except their own purpose. They're chasing distractions, comparing themselves to strangers, absorbing noise, drowning in expectations, and wondering why they feel empty at the end of each day. It's not because they're not working hard, it's because their focus is scattered. You see, the mind left untrained is like an open window in a storm. Anything can enter: fear, insecurity, doubt, opinions that don't belong to you. But a focused mind, that's a closed door to noise and an open path to clarity. It doesn't mean life will be quiet. It means you'll be still within the chaos. It means you'll be guided not by pressure, but by purpose. You start to choose what you give your energy to, instead of being chosen by it. You stop reacting to everything and start responding to what truly matters. Focus doesn't come naturally anymore, not in the age of endless scrolling, constant alerts, and digital noise that never turns off. But just because it's not easy doesn't mean it's not possible. It's a skill, a discipline, a choice. Every time you say no to distraction, you're saying yes to your future. Every time you ignore the noise, you're tuning into the voice within you that already knows the way. That inner voice, the one that's been drowned out by everything else, it doesn't shout, it waits, and when your mind becomes quiet enough, it speaks with a clarity that changes everything. The moment you begin to focus your mind, life starts to align. Your goals become clearer, your energy becomes sharper, and your actions begin to carry weight. You start creating instead of consuming, building instead of reacting, leading instead of following, and it's not about perfection. It's about presence, because when you're fully here, fully committed, fully focused, that's when your potential starts to wake up. That's when you stop living life on accident and start living on purpose. The world doesn't need a busier you, it needs a more focused you, a more grounded, intentional, and conscious version of you.